Welcome to the latest episode of Wheel of Combo. I am Corey.
And I am Joe.
And today, we're going to talk to you about some obscure history. Me and Joe love our history. And what we love even more is the weird, the little known, the underappreciated, the funny parts of history that get swept under the rug. Isn't that right, Joe?
Well, this is more like the M&M that you find on the bottom, underneath your couch cushion type thing, that you sometimes when you really want to, you really do want to bite into it. Doesn't matter how old it is.
I mean, there are so many levels to it, too. There are people throughout history who maybe should have gotten more recognition than they did. And then there are just events so strange that I can't believe, especially in this day and age, that they don't get enough coverage, at least in a funny way.
You think they at least get a laugh, you know?
I'll put it to you this way, Joe. Have you ever felt like dancing?
Not really, no.
So then I can guarantee that you've never felt like dancing to the point of death.
Really?
Stroudsburg, Austria, 1818, became what is known as the Dancing Plague, where around 400 women took to dancing for weeks, dancing in the streets for weeks at a time, to no end, for no apparent reason. A few dozen of them died while dancing. There's no concrete reason ever given, at least in historical record, as to why they think this might be. But, I don't know. I mean, I've heard of, like you suggested at the time, that it could be ergot poisoning, which is a poison found in grain, like rye. But many people believe that not everybody, if they were poisoned by ergot, would have necessarily been physically strong enough to dance the night away for several weeks. So history, or at least what little is written about it, has chalked it up to a case of shared mania. One person does it and it sort of infects a group. But I don't know. Have you ever had the Saturday night fever and let the fever get so high that you die?
That's why Footloose was made. The great
now we know.
Must have the devil in you.
Footloose knew about the dancing plague.
The devil.
People have died.
People have died, don't you know?
You cannot dance. They have died.
Man.
I mean, that's sort of I don't want to say lighthearted, because people died, but it sounds so absurd. That's the funny thing about history. Like, honestly, looking at it now, I can't even be so sure that happened, if I'm being honest with you. It might have just been reported in a certain way. And then history can be like a funny, bad game of telephone almost.
It changes. The story changes with the amount of times people actually say it.
Yeah. So I'm wondering if it just got more outlandish over time. I'm wondering if it was like one woman who maybe did have like a psychotic break, danced in the streets until she died.
Yeah.
And then over time it became 50, and then 100, and then a few more. But that's just one example of the great obscurities of history that we're going to go over. So that was my first example. Joe, what do you got for me?
Corey, if I was to ask you, what was the world's most successful pirate in history? Who would you say?
Oh, I'm going to I know a little bit about this because I know about history, but I can tell our viewers that the most successful pirate in history was a woman.
Yes.
And
yes, it was.
You can go on and deliver the rest of the facts for the people at home.
Her name was Xing Shi, and she was a prostitute in China. This was until the commander of the Red Flag fleet bought and married her. But rather than viewing her as a wife, her husband considered her his equal. She became an active pirate commander in the fleet. She earned respect of her fellow pirates, so much so, after her husband's death, she became the captain of the fleet. Under her leadership, the Red Flag fleet consisted of over 300 warships with possibly 1,200 more support ships. She had possibly 40 to 80,000 men, women, and children. They terrorized the waters around China. The Red Flag fleet was such a fearsome band of raiders that the Chinese government eventually pardoned her and her entire fleet just to get them off the high seas.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Because even a lot of the pirates that we know about hear how, if you look into it, you find that they weren't as successful as history would have you believe. But this woman's out there just dominating.
Just dominated. They have to just give her a pardon and be like, hey, we forgive you. Stop.
The Chinese government's just like, okay, just stop. Like, that's enough.
She made the government tap.
That's fantastic. And, well, you know what the kind of sad part about that is, too? Because we talked in the last episode about how history gets written, who it gets written by. Honestly, the reason that we don't know, or, enough people don't know about her, even though, there was a time, 15 years ago, where pirates were sort of like culturally in again. It was like, a fascination. Yeah. But honestly, the simple answer is she's a woman. That's why they don't know.
Yeah.
Why people don't know. This is why I had read briefly about her exploits, but it was, again, in research for this. So I wasn't, particularly aware either, and I think most people wouldn't be. And that's kind of it's also, like, that's, like, another person I wanted to bring up was, it's funny, I guess, because it goes back to what we learned in school, right? Mm-hmm. Everybody knows who invented the telephone, right?
Yeah. Alexander Graham Bell.
Yeah. You know who Philo Farnsworth is?
Wasn't he the person that he called?
No. He called his assistants. I can't think of the name offhand. Philo Farnsworth, in his high school chemistry class, made a drawing of a vacuum tube and how he would envisioned it being used. And years later, roughly off of that drawing, invented the TV. And it's funny because we know who invented the car. We know who invented the phone. Arguably, you could argue now that the TV has at least surpassed the phone in impact and is closer to the car than people might even believe. But why do we not know about the guy who invented the TV?
Yeah, it's true. It's in almost every house in the world. Actually, in the country, actually. I would say the world.
The developed world. It just feels like a weird thing to not know about.
Yeah.
Do you think kids that went to school in, like, the 40s and 50s knew all about the guy who invented the radio? Do you think that just went another, like, because I don't know who that was offhand.
Marconi.
Now that you've said the name, I've heard it. But do you think that was, like, commonplace? And then as the radio became less in use, less people knew, or why do you think
it was more, it's, if we were to say, who invented the video game for us? What was the first video game system? It's almost in that vein where people knew.
Why do you think the phone got picked, though? What do you think? Like, because everybody knows, right? You learned in school that, like I said, that Alexander Graham Bell invented the telephone. Is the telephone just so revolutionary and unlike anything before it that he sticks out as opposed to people who invented, like, the radio and the television?
I think I know for a fact that they probably bring it up in other types of, I would say modern history classes if you went to college. The people that, Alan Turing for the computer.
Yes.
Stuff like that.
I wanted to know that if the computer could think.
Yeah. And, I think most of those, the stuff, the everyday stuff that people use on a daily basis. I don't know. At the time, I think that it would basically be in the news and everybody would be either talking about it or know about it.
I know it went through that, like, every piece of tech goes through that period People could then wonder if it's evil, right? But it's not. Was the radio evil? Was the TV evil? That kind of thing. But, I mean, I guess I could see. What I will say is those things feel like an expansion of technology, whereas the phone, people had to be like, wait a minute, what? Like, that had to be completely new. That way you could communicate.
Yeah, it was different than writing letters. You can actually talk to people in real time that were far away. It was a real game changer.
Oh, for sure. And a lot of these things are, but I guess as the game keeps changing, it becomes less surprising when it does. Because, think about the telephone in relation to the tech we have now. Like, it's incredible, but people kind of almost balk at, in a joking way, Apple's latest innovation or Samsung. Heck, you and I are doing this right now in different houses.
Yeah.
Over the internet. Just the tech is incredible.
And to think, you think someone back when the telephone was being invented would ever envision that I could actually see you and you could actually see me and we could talk in real time.
Yeah, if you told that to somebody, if you told that to Alexander Graham Bell, that eventually we're going to be able to hold devices in our hand that allow us to see each other live, communicate with each other. But I guess we just become so desensitized to things over time as it gets more and more commonplace almost, especially tech.
Yeah, well, this is one of the things that is in one of those veins, and that is when you go to the grocery store, or you go to the pharmacy, and you see those birthday cards that have the songs already pre-recorded in them. You open them up, and it says, "Happy Birthday," or it says a silly saying or a phrase that had more computer power than the whole army in World War II.
That's incredible. Just putting it that way is just that's incredible.
The same thing could be said about a cell phone, a normal cell phone that a tween would have, just walking around, has more computer power than NASA had at the time of the moon landing, and it didn't take up 3 warehouses.
The leaps in the last 50 years.
Yeah.
Okay, I've got one more. I got an event to get us back on track, Joe.
All right.
Have you ever heard you're not supposed to wear white after Labor Day?
Yeah, what's up with that?
It stretched beyond that. And there was once a riot in response.
Really?
The Straw Hat Riot of 1922. At the end of each summer, during the early 20th century, around September 15th, men would swap their straw Panama hats for more distinguished, but less breathable, felt hats. If you didn't make the switch, you were ridiculed and even risked having your straw hat stolen and stomped on. In 1922, people finally revolted against this lunacy, and riots broke out for days. Thousands of people fought, many to great injury, over the right to wear the hat of their choosing. So what's the meeting point in a big city? Just like, you know what? Screw this felt. I've had enough. I take umbrage with this felt.
Can't tell me what Panama hats live forever.
And that's even funny thinking about it on a historical perspective. Like which hat to wear, right? As if the not wearing a hat wasn't even a thing. Like people just accepted that you had to wear a hat. Apparently, there were styles to go with the time of year. And somebody had enough and said, you know what? Let's riot about it. What do you think? Are you a felt hat or a straw hat guy, Joe?
I'm usually a baseball hat, so it's usually like a cotton nylon blend I usually wear.
You don't break out the good fedora when you're on vacation or something like that?
No, but I did buy an actual authentic Stetson Indiana Jones fedora.
Oh, as you should.
Yeah.
You have the whip?
I used to have a whip, but...
it occurs to me, when we were working together, I costumed up a lot. You didn't tell me this until now. feel like
Oh
something
man.
could have been done.
When I was about ready to turn 40, my wife thought I had a midlife crisis because I came home with a can of green hairspray, and I asked her, I was like, Comic-Con's this weekend. Can you spray my hair green? And she goes, what? I go, well, I'm going to take the girls to Comic-Con, and my oldest daughter is like a big Harley Quinn fan, so I was like, she wants to wear Harley Quinn get up, and I can't let her go by herself and not dress up. She goes, you want me to paint your face and spray your hair green? I go, yes. She goes, fine. But she was giggling the whole time, and she was loving every bit of it. So instead of a car, my midlife crisis was I dressed up.
I think you're too nice of a guy to be the Joker, Joe.
Well, I got my Starfleet costume ready for when I go to my first Star Trek convention. So
You've never been to a Star Trek convention?
No.
I'm stunned.
No. That's going to be on the bucket list. I'll be able to get my fourth pip, and I'll be able to be a captain and go.
I think you just need to go all out. Once you do it, if it's on the bucket list, we're talking San Diego Comic-Con, you know.
Oh man, if I was to do something, it'd be something like that. But I wouldn't go as my first contact Starfleet costume. I'd go all out and get the Wrath of Khan.
Oh yeah,
do the maroon.
How we do it. What other bits of history you got for me, Joe?
Okay, in ancient Asia, death by elephant was popular form of execution.
See? If you're going to go out, at least he stomps.
As elephants are very intelligent and easy to train, it proved enough to train them as executioners and torturers. They could be taught to slowly break bones, crush skulls, twist off limbs, or even execute people using large blades fitted to their tusks. In some parts of Asia, this method of execution was still popular up to the late 19th century.
Equal parts horrifying, enterprising, and fun.
Yeah. Did you know that in 1386 a pig was executed in France?
Oh, see? This I do know. Go ahead. Let the audience know.
There wasn't a great detail of civil rights in the Middle Ages. As it turns out, there weren't a great amount of animal rights either. So much that they were even subject to human justice. One case happened in France where a pig attacked a child's face who went on to later die from their wounds. The pig was arrested, kept in prison, and then sent to court where it stood trial for murder and was found guilty and executed by hanging.
I mean, that's just it's too human, right?
Yeah.
Like, what? So you're telling me there's a court trial? Who's defending the pig?
Well, I'm pretty sure that they had a public defender.
Probably had a ham sandwich on his way in.
I know.
It's like certain things don't, like, and that's another thing that's like very common to the old days, right? That they would do the whole charade in terms of like legal or whatever. Like Salem witch trials is like that. You do the whole charade. Like,
yeah.
But you think these people are possessed by the devil? What's with the legal process? This is a freaking pig. What's with the legal process?
Talking about the devil, Pope Gregory IX declared war on cats.
See, I'm ready. I'm with Pope Gregory. I'm with him.
He declared cats to be agents of devil worshippers. Not all cats, though. It was just black ones in particular. The Pope declared that they should be exterminated.
Wheel of Combo hot take. I think Pope Gregory is on to something.
But if you want to stay on the vein of animals, if you want to do that,
I've got one. We can sort of stay at that vein.
All right. So which one you got?
So you've got your daughter's getting older, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're getting ready to go off to college, right? At some point soon.
Yeah.
You've seen the viral trends over the years from Tide Pods, Marshmallow Challenge, whatever that might be. How would you feel if your daughter got into the next viral trend, or the first, of swallowing live goldfish?
Oh, man.
Because it took over college campuses in the 1930s after one Harvard freshman swallowed a live fish as a publicity stunt while running for class president. A goldfish swallowing trend spread among college campuses. Last week, Joe College was busy gulping goldfish, Time magazine wrote in 1939. He garnished it with salt, with mayonnaise, or with ketchup, and he chased it with milk, orange juice, or soda pop. But one routine did not vary. Each goldfish was gulped alive.
That's just...
That's sushi on another level right there.
I know. Well, you got to be careful nowadays because every goldfish that you get, depending on the pet store, has ick. So you're going to have to get treated afterwards. I wonder how that tasted. Little bacteria there.
Who chases it with milk?
I know. Who would chase it with soda? I wouldn't want it.
None of them.
I could see if it was like whiskey or something like that. You shot a tequila with the worm, and then
none of the chasers in the Time magazine article sounded particularly normal.
No, it's like, man, I wonder what his degree was in.
Don't we all?
Yeah, he was a former president, probably. You know about the Roman Emperor Caligula, right?
Yes.
All right. Did you know that he made one of his favorite horses a senator?
Oh, see? I'm supporting all these weirdos. That's good stuff.
He was famous for his brutality and madness, but Caligula fed criminals to animals and had conversations with the moon. He loved his horse so much that he gave him a marble stall, an ivory manger, a jeweled collar, and even a house. Caligula made his horse a senator and allegedly planned to make him consul before his assassination.
Yeah, Caligula.
That's good amount of inbreeding right there.
How many people do you think have been erased from history due to poor timing?
Yeah.
You know who Harriet Quimby is?
No. Chief Quimby's wife? From Simpsons?
Mayor Quimby.
Oh, it's Mayor Quimby?
Chief Wiggum.
Oh, it's Chief Wiggum.
Simpsons reference for the people. Harriet Quimby was the first female pilot to cross the English Channel. Did you know that?
No.
Do you know why you don't know that?
Why?
Because she was doing it as the Titanic was sinking. That's why.
Yeah.
So that's always been a curious layer of history. If one significant event gets layered on top of another and one gets lost. But while I have the Titanic on them, do you know who about Violet Jessup?
No, she wasn't the one that Rose was written for, was it?
Violet Jessup was she was a nurse whose nickname is the Queen of Sinking Ships because she was on the Titanic as well as both other HMS Royal vessels that later sank, and she survived them all.
It's like if you see her picture on the boat, you don't want to go on it.
You might not, maybe you do, as long as you're near her.
Stay close. Stay close to her.
Stay close. She's known as the Queen of Sinking Ships or Miss Unsinkable, which is a pretty cool nickname to have, let's be real.
So 100 million years ago, the Sahara Desert was inhabited by galloping crocodiles.
Galloping crocodiles?
Yeah. Back when the Sahara Desert was a lush plain full of life and also full of predators. In 2009, fossil hunters found remains of crocodiles. These remains had large land-going legs that were capable of galloping across the land at breakneck speeds.
That's awesome. See, and it's like, I'm sure so many, and we obviously, again, when you're younger, you learn a little bit about dinosaurs. But I wonder how many cool animals throughout history we just don't know about, didn't get to experience. Even like you said, the Sahara Desert being lush and full of life is such an interesting thing to think about, given what we know it as now.
You got another one?
I got a couple more.
All right.
You want a person or you want an event?
Let's do an event.
Do an event. All right. French Revolution was, that's Louis XIV and Marie Antoinette.
Let them eat bread.
Got any idea how they were caught?
No.
They tried to go incognito when the revolution broke out, but a postman thought he recognized them, and he confirmed his suspicions by comparing the king's face to the money he had in his pocket.
I know you. You look familiar.
Hang on a second. Let me take
Wait
out
a minute,
this
wait a
dollar. I mean, you're a king. You know your face is on something in someone's pocket. You're gonna go incognito. You got to give me some effort.
Did you know in ancient Rome they used urine as mouthwash?
It is sterile.
Yeah.
Gross.
Because urine contains a very high ammonia content, and ammonia is one of the most powerful and readily available natural cleaners on the planet.
As disgusting as it sounds, it almost makes sense. Because back then, you got to use what you can.
Yeah.
You got to use what's available to you. So, as gross as it is, I can almost see it.
You can see it. So.
Let's see what else I got for you. So urine is mouthwash.
Yes.
Not as controversial as it might sound.
No.
But history is just littered with such oddities. Like, you know anything about the treaty that Russia signed to exit World War I?
No.
In order to appear benevolent when they did it, they wanted a peasant present when they signed the treaty. So they grabbed a random old guy off the street. He was with royalty when they signed the treaty. They offered the random old man red or white wine. And his response was, wouldn't it be stronger if it was both? So he wanted both. And it's like, just history is just littered with so many funny little tales like that. Or things that, things you would never imagine that don't seem consequential. Like when the Berlin Wall fell, got any idea what the most in demand product after the fall of the wall was?
David Hasselhoff.
Well, nobody Hasselhoff. Everybody loves the Hoff.
Hasselhoff.
But the true answer for our listeners is the banana.
Really?
They only had access to poorly grown, basically automatically brown bananas during the time of the Berlin Wall. So demand for ripe bananas, the riper the better. If they were almost green, they didn't even care. Was sky high after the fall of the wall.
And David Hasselhoff.
Yeah. Hey, you got to give that guy credit.
Hey.
All right? He knows his brand.
Michael Knight for 3,000. Mitch, if you can. So, do you know who the most famous female serial killer was?
I know of Eileen Wuornos, but that's probably not right.
She was a Hungarian countess.
Oh, a countess. That's fun.
Yeah, she was born in 1560. She was accused of torturing and killing over 650 young women. Most of the women were between the ages of 10 and 14. Her cruelty was limitless. She regularly bathed in the blood of virgins to preserve her youthful looks.
Well, that's insane.
After facing accusations from many people, small folk and nobles alike, she was detained. However, she did not face trial due to her family's aristocratic high standing. Instead, she was privately imprisoned with windowless room for 4 years until she died in 1614.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
And the number of people. And then the bathing in the blood, that just feels like we're in a horror movie. I've always wondered, in preparation, if you feel like in wartime you're going to get attacked, what do you do?
You set up your defenses.
I mean, well, if if you're not in the military, but maybe you necessarily don't want to flee because you feel like it's your home. Like during World War II, Belfast believed that the Germans were coming for an attack. So what they wanted to do was set free all of their zoo animals as defense and cause chaos. One particular citizen saw how dangerous this was and was able to sneak out and save an elephant, which lived another 20 years. So it's like, number one, who thinks of that as a plan? Just, send the zebra that way. Quick, get the zebra. Quick, get on there. And
well, how quick could you train an elephant to smash someone's skull?
Yes, you touched on elephants.
Yes.
Perhaps he grabbed the gentleman grabbed the wrong animal. Because he might have grabbed the only zoo animal with some potential defense properties.
That was for his own personal defense. He knew what he was doing. Oh, man.
History's just littered with such fun little factoids.
What was it? Did you know that Adolf Hitler's nephew fought against the Nazis in World War II?
There you go. Smart nephew.
Hitler's half-brother had an Irish wife in Liverpool, England. William Patrick Hitler, later William Patrick Stewart Houston, moved from the UK to Germany, but later in life moved to the U.S. During the Second World War, he was drafted into the United States Navy, where he served as a hospital corpsman through the war until 1947. He was wounded in action and awarded the Purple Heart and went on to gain American citizenship.
Patrick Stewart. It's not related to our favorite Star Trek captain, is it?
No. It was spelled differently. They called him Stewie.
That's history has all those, the bright sides, the interesting factoids of dark times. Like, you brought up World War II.
Mm-hmm.
Without the dropping of the atomic bomb, Hiroshima, bone marrow transplants are never a thing. Those came to pass as a treatment for people affected by the bombing but alive. And now, obviously, they're used in a wide variety of non-nuclear fallout medical care.
Yeah.
That's pretty incredible.
Well, speaking of the atomic bomb, that there was a person that survived the atomic bomb twice.
That person that looks at Miss Unsinkable and says, I raise
you because I am unfalloutable.
That's right.
So one man survived both the atomic bombing of Hiroshima and then later Nagasaki.
That's
Kusumi Namaguchi was a 29-year-old naval engineer on a 3-month business trip to Hiroshima on August 6, 1945. The Enola Gay dropped its atomic payload on the city. Yamaguchi was less than 2 miles from ground zero and was thrown into a potato patch. He survived the blast and was able to make a perilous journey through the devastated city to the railway station. Here on August 7th, he boarded a train on an overnight ride to his hometown of Nagasaki. On the morning of August 9th, he was with some colleagues in an office building. Another boom split the sound barrier. A flash of white light filled the sky. Yamaguchi emerged from the wreckage with only minor injuries on top of his current injuries. He survived 2 nuclear blasts in 2 days.
You, sir, have the worst luck and the best luck.
Exactly.
All at once. And you see, that's the kind of thing. I talk about how it's not taught in school. Obviously the bombings are like a heavy event that we teach in school. Make it a little more fun. Tell me about that guy. Why is he not added? Makes it incredible.
Yeah.
I also, as I go through this, Jerry Whittington is.
No.
Jerry Whittington was the first black personal secretary to a president. To announce her appointment, Lyndon Johnson put her on What's My Line, a game show where contestants try to guess someone's profession. That's how it got announced. Lyndon Johnson, you were out there, my friend. You were out there. But that's also just such a fun factoid. Because he went, you know what? I could do a press release. I could put something out. Or we could just throw her on a game show.
There you go.
Here you go.
I know we were talking about wars, but do you know what the shortest war in history is?
Wow, this should be fun. What do you got for me?
It was called the Anglo-Zanzibar War. It happened in 1896. And it was all over the ascension of the next Sultan of Zanzibar and resulted in a British victory. And do you know how long that war lasted?
I'll go with an hour.
38 minutes.
38 minutes. That's not even a war. That's a skirmish.
That's a skirmish. I never learned about that in school.
We've done episodes about food and our love of food. Would you go to war for food? Joe, would you go to war for food, Joe?
I would. It depends on what food it is.
A French king was so mad that Mexico had closed off his favorite pastry shop that France went to war with Mexico. It was known as the Pastry War, and it lasted from November 27th, 1838 to March 9th, 1839. The French won, and the Mexican government agreed to reopen the bakeries and pay damages of 600,000 pesos. 36 Frenchmen died, and 224 Mexican soldiers died, all because of some closed bakeries.
I don't know. If they do that to a Dunkin' Donuts, I think I'd be mad too.
Yeah, well, you don't know where to get your 3 coffees.
I know.
I mean, you know what? That's one way to really wield your power. I'll say that.
Yeah.
Close my bakery? War, I say.
War.
Oh, this is what we put obscure history on the wheel. I didn't even necessarily need to deep dive into anything because there's so much of this. You know, we'll be able to do it again.
Yeah.
It's so crazy. History is littered with, either events that are so absurd, so ridiculous that you can't believe you didn't learn about them, or people that either are the same way or just didn't get the recognition they deserve throughout history.
This is an interesting topic, and just start peppering off a bunch of different ones. What was it? Did you know that in World War II, the British tanks actually had a tea room in them?
Oh, well, you gotta have tea.
Well, to have tea, spot of tea, so they could have tea time.
And I'll tell you, in this day and age, in the media, in movies, there's been been a movement towards strong female characters, right?
Yeah.
Big movement, right? So I want to know why Lydia Pavlichenko hasn't had a biopic yet.
And who might that be?
Lydia Pavlichenko was the Russian Army's most deadly sniper in World War II. She was even nicknamed Lady Death. She fatally shot no less than 309 Nazi soldiers. 309.
She should have been on Enemies at the Gate.
Yeah, she should have been.
Well, since we're in the vein of World War II, do you want to know something interesting about the beaches at Normandy?
What do you got for me?
From the D-Day landings, 4% of the Normandy beaches are made up of shrapnel.
That's a lot of shrapnel.
That is.
That's a lot of 4% of the total of the beaches?
Yeah, more than 5,000 tons of bombs were dropped by the Allies on the Axis powers as part of the prelude to the Normandy landings. Scientists have studied the sand on the beach of Normandy, and they found microscopic bits of smoothed-down shrapnel from the landings. They estimate that within 150 years, the beach will have fully lost any remaining shrapnel to rust and erosion.
But even so, we're talking about it lasting like 100 years.
Yeah.
We were talking about how far tech has come earlier. Like, I feel like we don't even need to leave shrapnel anymore.
But I do have a follow-up to that.
What do you got?
Do you know where shrapnel came from?
Where the word shrapnel came from? Or?
Yeah.
I don't, actually.
It was from its inventor. British Army officer Henry Shrapnel was the first person to invent an anti-personnel shell that could transport a large number of bullets to its target before releasing them. This was all at a far greater distance than current rifles at the time.
So shrapnel wasn't necessarily because I view it as like an accidental, broken off piece of artillery.
No, it's meant to be.
It was meant to be. See? You learn something new every day. So in research for this, and this is a fun factoid for our sports fans out there. I read an article about 15 unknown historical figures who should have their own biopic. And one of the people on the list was a Kentucky senator from the 18th century. Very early on, born into wealth, but anti-slavery. Wanted freedom for everybody. One of the especially in the American South, one of the most outspoken abolitionists in the American South. Any idea what this gentleman's name might have been?
No.
The gentleman's name is Cassius Clay.
Really?
Yes. Which is obviously the inspiration for who we grew to know as Muhammad Ali. But one of the first, especially, like I said, in that area of the country, outspoken anti-slavery government officials. Cassius.
That's something. But I think I have one that might even top that. Everyone knows about Abraham Lincoln. You know, he was the great emancipator, 16th president. Do you know that he was an avid wrestler?
See, because I am a huge wrestling fan, I do know this. But
he only lost one fight out of 300.
But I think people don't understand that, we're not talking about, the stuff you see on TV. This guy, this huge man, by the way, he's huge. Just wrestled people for fun. That's what he was.
And he was apparently good at it, too.
Very. This is why history is so fun.
Yeah. So
and
I have one that's going to be 2 parts.
Go for it.
I know that we talked in one of the episodes, it was Mad Men and Genius, even a bunch of times about, Edison.
Yeah.
Edison was basically probably history's greatest scumbag when it came down to everything. He actually has probably most patents ever. He was quick about getting the patents for everything.
We know that's how a large portion of why history views him the way it does. Because even stuff that he didn't necessarily invent, he got the patent for.
So the one reason why, and back in the early days, what happened was, Hollywood wasn't in Los Angeles. It was in New York. And the reason why it moved out west to Los Angeles is to escape Edison's patents.
Well, that's so they could make movies without him having taken credit, pictures, and that sort of thing.
He was a patent master, and since they were so close, he had patents on over 1,000 different things, including most of the technology needed to make high-end movies. And he wasn't shy to prosecute that. So if you wanted to be in the movie business, you had to go through Edison. So independent filmmakers chose an alternate option to fight Edison, fleeing Edison. And that's what they did. They moved to California, an area of the country where judges weren't as friendly to Edison and his patents, and the wheels of copyright law would take longer for them to get rolled over.
That's an ingenuity.
Yeah.
So it's just that's incredible. Because think about the historical ramifications of that, right? What we know now as Hollywood, where TV is made, where movies are made, where people go to when they want to make it, exists because one person was a complete douche about patents.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me spin this. I'm not so sure that we're going to know exact names if I give you this hypothetical.
All right.
Do you think anything that anything that we're living through now, anything that got invented, or or any of the big change, or any big changes coming in the near future. Do you think anything is sort of being swept under the bus now already? Do you think is more importance than we put on it, or something that we'll look back on that feels obscure now but won't be?
I don't think so, because everything right now, it's, everyone's trying to get clickbait. It's there's a lot of information getting thrown all at once at everybody. And it's before you had like the nightly news that was on TV, and it would try and, see which one they've filtered out. But right now you have the opportunity when you're on the internet to go through and basically read about anything that you want. Sometimes web pages are sitting there and they'll filter out stuff just to see if they can get someone to click. But
so it's harder for somebody or an event to sort of be under the radar now, because there's just so much coverage.
Yeah, because I'll tell you one thing. One of my favorite things that my daughter likes to do is she likes to look up Florida Man.
Oh, yeah.
Florida Man. Florida Man for this date. And she'll always get a Florida Man story. It's crazy and wild and hilarious.
See, I mean, it's also, it's great that we have the access we do to information, but it also sort of, it takes the fun out of it. I don't know how else to put it. I was always, a curious learner. And that's why I loved, a topic like this when we put it on the wheel. But it's just not the same sense that I had looking stuff up and getting a laugh out of something or being genuinely intrigued by it.
Or surprised.
Or surprised. Or, as opposed to just being able to go to Google and find something insane that happened yesterday.
Yeah. It's funny.
It's probably a good innovation overall. Access to information, I can't construe it as bad. More though, it's just not, like I said, I've always been interested in those sorts of things. And I worry that interest in, not even in truth, but just in the weird, in the obscure, in the slightly absurd, if it'll wane over time.
Yeah.
Because it's so easily accessible.
Well, it's like one of the last things I think I'll mention. Actually, there's two things I want to mention that I found out. The Aztecs thought turkeys were godlike and actually trained them and had them in their rituals.
And we know that turkeys will look up in a rainstorm and drink so much that they drown. And these people thought turkeys were gods.
Yes.
That makes me question their entire empire.
They actually dressed them up, and they had, they were integral parts of their religious ceremonies. And the other thing that I want to do, and this is my closing obscure history fact, is, do you know who invented the Yo Mama joke?
It wasn't my mama. She's so slow. Oh, go on.
Shakespeare.
Really?
Shakespeare originated the Yo Mama joke from a play he did, Titus Andronicus. One of the characters, Chiron, exclaims, "Thou hast undone our mother," to which another character, Aaron, replies, "Villain, I have done thy mother."
Look at that.
I know. So he did the first Yo Mama joke.
Look at that. And, I really thought Shakespeare couldn't get any weirder.
No. He did Yo Mama joke. That's
This is a bit off topic, now that you've brought him up, though. You ever read the conspiracy that he didn't exist and or write his own stuff?
I heard vague mentions of that.
Basically, and yeah, I don't know, I can't say for sure whether it's true or not, but I could see it. Said that it was likely written by various people as a tool to communicate with commoners, which is why Shakespeare was used, because he was more presented as a commoner than they believed the people who wrote it actually might have been.
Having collection of stories under one person and having the venue that he had would have been appealing at the time.
Oh, yeah. I could see it. But I don't know now, because what you just did dampened the conspiracy. Because, well, a man of nobility, because the assumption's always been that it was written by nobility. Would they drop a Yo Mama joke?
I don't know. They could.
And you know what? The fun part about it is we did a lot of little factoids today, just kind of make us laugh and make you guys laugh. But if this were to hit the wheel again, we could cover like longer stories that people don't know anything about too.
Yeah.
We could go deep on a 1 or 2 topic kind of thing. Next time it hits, maybe that's how we flip it.
All right.
1 or 2 topics and see where we
go.
Yeah. But, I mean, this was fun. I hope our audience had fun. I hope our ever-expanding German audience enjoyed themselves.
We love Hasselhoff, too.
We love Hasselhoff and a good old Wiener Schnitzel.
Yes.
Just wanted to take the opportunity to say Wiener Schnitzel on the pod.
Yes.
As we're going to get ready for another spin.
We're going to spin. See what it comes up to.
Ooh, Master Wheel Theater.
Master Wheel Theater.
We shall take a trip to the cinema.
It'll be more like Mystery Science Theater 3000, but
it's me.
Still.
It's me. We can turn this. If you want to play a B movie where we make jokes over it, I am down.
Oh.
Give me some Manos Hands of Fate.
Do something
Santa
that
Claus
we...
Conquers the Martians.
Well, what we could do is, the first topic, what we're going to do is just rapid fire a bunch of them off and just go nuts. And then what we'll do is, I think we're going to have to make another wheel to see which movies we actually would pick.
I half jokingly said it. I don't think it's a bad idea. We turn a podcast episode into us ripping a B movie.
That's true.
Online. I honestly don't. I think we could have some fun doing it. But yeah, we can. Master Wheel Theater is going to be a discussion of all things cinema, or an intense discussion of one thing cinema. You'll have
Something
to wait and see.
Unusually obscure.
Oh, I was a film student. I can go obscure if you want.
Oh.
We can bicycle thief this place. Want to do that?
Oh man. Funny
Bicycle
story.
Thief's a great movie, guys. Great movie.
I have a funny story I'll have to tell you later.
Yes, please do.
I don't want to share. Not in this medium.
Okay, guys. Thanks for joining us, and be ready for our next trip to Master Wheel Theater.
That's right. Get your popcorn, get your soda. Concession stand's going to be open before the curtain goes up. Check back with us. We'll be doing Master Wheel Theater. Be great. I think this is one of the topics that both me and you were excited about when we put it on there.
We were. And it took a while for it to hit. What's great is there are so many ways we can go with it.
Yeah.
We'll probably have a bit of a discussion beforehand about where to take the first discussion in Master Wheel Theater.
Yeah.
Because I think we could hit it time and time again and find something new and fresh.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So, well, this was with the Wheel of Convo, and hopefully you enjoyed Obscure History. I know that Corey and I did.
Indeed. So I'm Corey.
And I'm Joe.
Have a great night.
Have a great night, everybody.